I am truly sorry and will forever regret my actions, and will do all in my power to never act in a way that would harm others ever again.
In this video, we're going to look at a court case that shocked a small Idaho community, the sentencing of Brian Johnson, a 50-year-old former high school teacher from Idaho Falls. Johnson wasn't your typical defendant. He was respected in his town, well-liked by students, and known as a caring educator. But in 2021, his reputation came crashing down after a series of disturbing events involving one of his former students. This case isn't about a career criminal. It's about how a respected figure crossed boundaries and how the justice system responded. The video you're about to see comes from Johnson's sentencing hearing in Idaho Falls. He had pleaded guilty to felony stalking a 26-year-old woman, a former student of his, after months of harassment. According to court documents, the woman had filed a protection order against Johnson. Despite that, he continued to follow her in public, leave her harassing messages, and even entered her home while she was away. One particularly shocking allegation stated that he urinated on her bed during one of those break-ins. At that point, the situation moved from concerning to criminal. Johnson was arrested and charged with felony stalking, a serious offense in Idaho, carrying a potential sentence of up to 5 years in prison. During his sentencing hearing, Johnson appeared visibly nervous. His hands shook as he stood to address the judge. He began by apologizing.
Your Honor, I would like to take this chance to openly apologize for my actions in this case. I take full responsibility and full remorse and regret, not because I was caught, but that I allowed my perspective and judgment to be so clouded.
He then turned his attention to the victim, whose name remains protected.
And finally, and most importantly, I deeply and sincerely apologize for all anxiety, depression, stress, fear, and any other negative emotions and financial burdens which my choices and actions did cause. I sincerely regret and feel deep sorrow and accept full responsibility for that which I have done. I hope and pray that she will be able to heal from this and not have any lingering impact to her life.
His tone was emotional and remorseful, but in the courtroom, not everyone was convinced that remorse could undo the damage. Presiding over the case was Judge Joel Tingey, who took a measured but firm approach when speaking to Johnson. Before delivering the sentence, Judge Tingey acknowledged the complicated nature of the case. He said this wasn't a career criminal, but a man who had led a productive life and contributed to his community.
This is not a case of a career criminal. This is somebody that was actually very productive in the community, a role model, frankly, who did a lot of good things through his career.
But then he added something that summed up the duality of the situation.
And I look at this in this case and I say, this is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde case, and I get a lot of letters who really support Dr. Jekyll, but I'm sentencing Mr. Hyde. I'm not sentencing Dr. Jekyll.
After a pause, Judge Tingey handed down his decision.
The sentence on this will be 5 years, 1.5 fixed, 3.5 indeterminate.
That meant Johnson would serve at least 1.5 years before being eligible for review or early release. However, instead of going straight to prison, the court decided to place Johnson in a rider rehabilitation program, a system in Idaho that allows certain offenders to undergo intensive treatment and therapy while in custody. If the person completes the program successfully, the court can consider reducing their sentence. The idea behind the program is rehabilitation, not just punishment. It's designed for cases where the court believes the offender has a genuine chance to reform, and in Johnson's case, that's exactly what happened. After spending less than a year in custody and completing the rider program, he was released early and placed on 4 years of supervised probation. The judge's decision sparked mixed reactions. Some believed the outcome was fair, that Johnson needed treatment and counseling more than a long prison term. Others felt that his early release sent the wrong message, especially considering the fear and emotional trauma his actions caused. To understand why this case drew so much attention, you have to look at how the community viewed Brian Johnson before all this happened. For years, he had been seen as an exemplary teacher, someone who helped students, volunteered in local programs, and represented the values of the town. That's why, when the allegation surfaced, it didn't just shock people, it confused them. How could someone who had spent a career teaching young people right from wrong end up violating those same principles in such a personal and invasive way? During sentencing, the judge mentioned receiving numerous letters of support for Johnson.
As I go through the pre-sentence report and see the letters in support, I take that at face value. That's something I look at, I consider.
Many came from friends, colleagues, and former students who described him as kind, generous, and committed to his community. But ultimately, the judge said those letters could not outweigh the harm he caused to his victim.
Living a hellish life during this time frame that can't be, you can't repair that, you can't undo it.
The court emphasized that no amount of good deeds could repair the emotional and psychological toll the victim endured. Cases like this often highlight a psychological pattern that experts call fixation or obsessive attachment. It's when someone becomes so emotionally dependent on another person, real or imagined, that boundaries dissolve. For educators, that line is especially critical. Teachers are in positions of trust, and when that trust turns personal, it can easily cross into inappropriate or dangerous territory. In this case, that trust became obsession, and that obsession became criminal behavior. When Johnson said he would never act in a way that would harm others again, it sounded like a promise. But whether that promise holds true is something only time and his actions will reveal. The Idaho Falls community was left divided. Some said Johnson's remorse was genuine and that his mental health struggles should be considered. Others argued that remorse doesn't erase fear and that the victim's sense of safety may never fully return. For her, the damage wasn't just emotional. Court records noted ongoing anxiety, depression, and financial burdens caused by Johnson's behavior. The judge described her experience as hellish, saying, "You can't repair that." After completing the Rider program, Johnson was released under strict probation conditions. Those included regular check-ins, mental health treatment, and no contact with the victim. He's expected to follow those terms for 4 years, a period meant to ensure continued rehabilitation and accountability. So what can we take away from this case? First, it's a reminder that crimes like stalking and harassment don't always come from strangers. They can come from people we know, trust, and even admire. Second, it shows how the justice system tries to balance punishment with the possibility of rehabilitation. Not every offender gets that opportunity, but in this case, the court believed Johnson could benefit from treatment rather than a long incarceration. And finally, it highlights the lasting impact of emotional and psychological harm. Even after apologies, even after sentencing, the trauma remains. Judge Tingey's closing remarks summed up the case best.
This is not a case of a career criminal. As you look at the conduct and the damage that was left in the wake of that conduct, which is extensive, frankly immeasurable.
Brian Johnson's story is one of two sides: a respected educator and a man whose obsession led him to cross every boundary of trust. It's a case that left a mark not just on one victim, but on an entire community that's still trying to understand how it happened. If you found this breakdown informative, consider subscribing for more court case analyses and real sentencing footage from across the U.S. We post new videos every week, exploring how justice unfolds one courtroom at a time.